Hello and welcome. Today we're talking all about signs if you are an empath. I will say my first guess is if you're watching this video, then yes, you are. I'm also going to caveat it a little with what I'm going to list out. This is not like an official quiz. I did not Google this or anything. I sat down and asked my higher self to give you all just some ideas to kind of determine if being an empath is something for you to explore and if you relate to, and to kind of go from there. Okay, so when I look down, so I'm looking at the notes. So number one, it sounds obvious, don't mind my nice background heater noise, but you feel things deeply. You feel things deeper than a lot of the people around you. Maybe when you were growing up, you didn't understand that other people didn't feel things the same way that you did, but just everything that you come in contact with, you feel more deeply, whatever that is. That's sort of the overarching. That's gonna go into all the next ones. You probably have trouble witnessing violence. And yeah, does everyone have trouble witnessing violence? For the most part, but your body takes it to a whole other level. For example, it's probably difficult for you to watch shows or TV where you see someone being physically hurt or abused. You most likely feel that in your body. So someone might tell you it's just a TV show, it's just a movie. But to you, it's not just a movie. Your body is actually feeling what the people on the screen are going through. So again, you feel things more deeply. Medications might affect you more. You might notice that when you take like a typical medication prescription, that you almost always get the side effects, or at least one side effect. Where maybe most people around you that took that medication maybe wouldn't. So you might find yourself being more drawn to natural kind of holistic types of medications that have less side effects, because your body feels things more deeply and will react more. And that can be the same with food. You might also find you might be more sensitive to certain types of food. And it's, again, your body's feeling so many things. Bright lights and loud noises, crowds, malls, those all might be really overwhelming to you. I know when I used to teach middle school math, the fluorescent lights, I would get headaches very often. Also, the loud classroom probably also didn't help, but fluorescent lights, I still have a hard time with fluorescent lights. I just don't work in a classroom anymore, so it's helpful. But those might affect you more than, say, the average person. Also, this one, people tell you everything. So are you one of those people that, like, it could be your friends, but it could even just be like a stranger? Like, you could be like standing in line or just somewhere random and someone's telling you like their whole life story. And it's usually like not the happy stuff, it's like the stuff that they're having a hard time with. It's like they just feel safe to open all of that up to you. So if you're like that person, either in your friend group, in your family, or even to strangers, you're probably an empath. You also might find yourself often as the mediator of a situation. So, and that's because it's funny, that actually goes into the next tip that I had, or sign. It's because you are probably very good at understanding all sides of the situation. So say you had a friend group or in your family and people are having an issue, you're able to see it from everyone's point of view, and you can understand, like, oh, I understand where you're coming from, but I also understand where the other person's coming from and all the people that are involved. You probably are able to kind of step back and get that view, which kind of puts you in that mediator, peacemaker role more often than maybe you want, or maybe you like doing that, but you probably find yourself in that role. You also may attract people into your life with problems. So like look at your past relationships, especially your like your partner's girlfriend, boyfriend, that kind of thing. Look back at those relationships, your friends too, but I find the close partners, it's even more. Have you attracted people to you, and this isn't necessarily going to happen, but have you attracted people to you who need to be fixed, and then you kind of fall into like the fixer role, because they tell you all their problems and you want to help them. That's the other thing. You could also fall into the helper role of wanting to help and fix, and a lot of times this also happens. A lot of empaths will put other people before themselves, and try to fix and work on and help everyone else before actually looking and helping themselves. So some of these things that are signs of being an empath that we can easily sort of like fall into, like the archetypes that we can fall into, are not always, they're a little bit of the shadow side or the density side of like being an empath. And there are things that we can do to like mitigate that and work through that. So it's not like you're always going to be stuck like putting yourself last and helping everyone and always being in these roles. There are things we can learn, and they're great lessons to move through, to move yourself out of certain roles and to feel more free, even while still being an empath. So just know that even what I'm saying, there are things we can work on and learn. It's not like you're stuck in this little situation. Often empaths really crave quiet and alone time. So what is interesting about empaths, like everyone, you can be an introverted empath or an extroverted empath. So the way I like to think about that most is what gives you energy? Does it give you energy to be by yourself and, and quiet and outside or inside on the couch, but by yourself? Or do you get energy from, going to a party with a lot of people and you feel like alive? But then you still are gonna, if you're an empath, even if you're extroverted like that and you like the parties and you like to go out and be around people and like feel alive, you're like vibe off that. When you're an empath, you're still going to crave that alone recharge time, even if you're an extrovert. So just kind of, no matter how you kind of like spending your time, your body, you might not even know you crave. That's interesting, actually. If you're an extroverted empath, you might not even know how much your body needs that recharge quiet time. So that's something to look into if that's you. If you're an introverted empath, which I don't know if it's more common, but I feel like that's more of what you hear about, at least. It's definitely what I am. You need that quiet time. It's like you need quiet time, you need alone time, and without that, the world just continues getting more overwhelming. You really, really need to carve out, however you can, that alone quiet time. I can already hear people who are like, but I have young kids, but I have a job, but I know, I get it, but your body really needs that to fit that time in somewhere, and that's where we'll talk about this in my course. But that's where you really need to set those boundaries and ask for help. Empaths probably not the best at asking for help, so that's something to maybe learn about too. Okay, you probably can a lot of times guess what someone is about to say. So like they're talking to you. I do this sometimes, and it's like definitely annoys my husband, where he'll be talking and then he'll like kind of pause for a minute and I'll like fill in his blank. I'm like, I'm usually right, but sometimes I'm also wrong. And he's like, that's like, wait for me to talk. What are you doing? But it's like, 'cause I already know what he's going to say most of the time, and I say it. People don't always like when you do that. But sometimes you might find yourself doing that. Like it's like, because you're feeling into their energy. It's like your body's kind of like reading their mind, not in like a creepy way, but just in a like, okay, I see where this is going kind of way. So you might have that kind of happen to you sometimes. You probably can also walk into a room with people and know like exactly how everyone's feeling, just by how they're standing, how you can just feel it. Again, you can feel things more deeply. I remember one time we pulled into like a parking space and there was this girl like standing outside the car, and I said something to my husband like, oh, she feels really uncomfortable in like what she's wearing, because she was like, you could just sense it. I could just tell she felt so uncomfortable. And she was like tugging at her clothes a little bit, but it was just, I could just tell. And he's like, what are you talking about? She's fine. And I'm like, you can't tell that? Like, so it's just when you walk in, you immediately, even if someone's pretending like they're happy, you know they're not. And it can be really frustrating and difficult with those relationships that you have when people are like, no, I'm fine. And then you know they're not fine. And you can probably do that over text also. And then someone else might read that text and be like, what do you mean? They're not saying anything. And you're like, I can tell, I can feel it. They're like so pissy right now. And you're like, what do you mean? So you can probably feel that through text, probably through email. And then if you see them, you probably just know how they're feeling, even if they're pretending to feel another way. Probably you are also, you probably feel really connected, and it's easy for you to connect to babies, to animals, and out in nature. So I don't really know why. There's probably a big reason why, but I think babies are just so, they're still so like pure and not like pushed down by the world yet, that they're so open. They're open. That's what I was going for. They're so open. Same with animals. They're so open, and they're not pretending to be something that's, there we go. That's what I want to say. They're not pretending to be someone they're not. They're literally, they don't know how to be anything but themselves. And that goes with babies, animals, and just nature. And I think as an empath, it's like a breath of fresh air when people, babies, animals, nature, are just being themselves. There's no guesswork. There's no like layers that you're feeling from them. It's like, you know what you're getting. And I think it's just really easy for most empaths to connect in with all that, babies, animals, or outside. Then I think, like I said, I did not like get this. I just wrote this list this morning, kind of like channeled it down. So I don't know if this is on like all the other lists, but I do think that empaths are often find themselves very drawn to spiritual topics or tools. So like oracle cards, tarot cards, crystals, just the idea that there's something more to life than what we see and sense with just like, I would say like our normal senses. And I think a part of that, I just got goosebumps. I think a part of that is because we do feel so deeply. My opinion, my thinking on that is that your feeling so deeply is what some people would call like your psychic sense of feeling, clairsentience. So I think that empaths end up down that line of exploring spirituality in some sense, whether that is just that there's life beyond this, or whether that's like literally going through with like energy healing and oracle cards, tarot cards, stuff like that. Because your psychic sense, your feeling sense is like magnified. It would be similar to someone who sees visions. That would be like their seeing sense is magnified. It's like more likely they're going to believe in all the kind of like more mystical out there stuff, because they're already seeing it. You are already feeling it. Which I know it's always like seeing is believing. So it's a little also trickier when it's feeling and you're not seeing, to kind of trust yourself on that. And then the last one I'm going to talk about, it is very easy for us empaths to absorb other people's feelings, emotions, or pain. And I'm going to describe this a little bit because I have run into a few people who I know are empaths, but they don't think they're doing this. Because it sounds kind of out there, like I'm not absorbing someone's energy or pain. But it could be as simple as you sitting down, like having, say, like a lunch date with a friend, And maybe it's a type of friend that's kind of always like, because probably you're an empath, they're like um, unburdening. They're putting all their problems on you, right? When they see you, they're like, oh, it's so nice to talk to, it's so nice to talk to Amy because she listens to my problems and she really listens, and so I'm going to tell her everything. um, and now it's sometimes there's friends who can do that for you, and you're going to leave and you're still going to feel fine, because they're not literally putting that on you. But there are going to be some friends that do that and you leave and they feel a little better because they got rid of that junky energy, and you leave that situation feeling like crap, or you're in a bad mood, or you're way more tired than what you went in as. It's just something to start noticing. There could be friends that do the opposite for you, that you meet with them even if you're talking about your problems, because you don't need to be all light and love and like not discuss like real things going on with you. But you could have the same lunch date with a different friend, still talk about what's going on with you, and you could leave there feeling uplifted. So something just to kind of keep in mind is when you're with different people or places, because this can happen with places too. It doesn't have to be just a person. You could walk through the mall and pick up all types of stuff there. But something to keep in mind and just be aware of. I'm not going to say that you can stop it from happening, like stop your body from absorbing other people's emotions or energy, but you can become aware of it and then know what to do while it's happening and after it's happening. So there's a whole, I'll be teaching that in my empath course, but that's for another video, another day. The other thing is pain. So I hope my sister doesn't watch this. My sister does this. Her body, and so many other empaths do this too. Her body will mimic other people's pain that she loves. So like if she feels really connected to a person, she'll find like if they have a problem with, say, their knee, she might find her knee starts hurting, like it's like something really, really wrong with it, and she'll go to the doctor and it'll be like nothing. And then that's happened multiple times. So also keep in mind, like if you ever have random like pains or like it feels real, it really feels real, it feels like there's something really, really wrong with a part of, I saw a hawk, spirit animal, it feels really, really real, it feels really like there's something wrong, and you go to the doctor and they're like, you're fine. Look around, like your family, your friend group, is there someone else having that issue, but it's like an actual medical issue? You might be taking on their pain, and you don't have to. Your body might do it, and then we can get rid of that. I do have a short 10-minute clearing meditation for free. I'll put it in the comments. It is super powerful. It's a 10-minute guided meditation. It's kind of like I walk you through taking a giant magnet and letting it pull up from your body everything you're holding that is not yours. I've got some really awesome feedback from it so far of what people feel like is being pulled up. I am running Reiki in the background of that meditation. I don't say that in the meditation because I wanted it just everyone to feel comfortable, but I feel like now I'm like, probably should have said that. So just know that when we are lifting out the stuff in that meditation, I'm also feel like we're adding Reiki, just beautiful, loving energy healing. So just know that both things are happening. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I would love to hear what you felt listening to that video. Did you feel like, oh, yep, that's definitely me? Or were you like, nope? I'd be super curious if someone listened to this video all the way through and was like, nope, that's not me. So I'm like, why? What led you here? There's got to be, if that's you, there's some other reason you're here. I would also think it'd be really neat if you wanted to comment like other signs you've noticed that you're an empath, or even something that I wrote, I said in here, go off of that. But I hope that was helpful, and just know that yes, there are some like negative parts of being an empath, but there are so many positives, and we really can turn it into like it really is like a superhero ability that we have as empaths. So, and there are ways to work with it. So please I don't want you to think this is like a bad thing. It's an exciting thing. It's really, really cool that you can feel all these things and feel them deeply. It's really just learning how to navigate an overwhelming world while you feel things deeply, but there are ways to do it. There are ways to clear things. There are ways to set your life up for better success. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.